Discover how a heartwarming 4.2B transformative moment exposed racial injustice at a gala. Emma stood behind the counter of her small flower shop, the rich scent of blooming roses and daisies enveloping her like a warm embrace. Just outside, the early spring sun streamed through the glass window, casting a golden glow over her modest storefront. Each bloom she arranged was a testament to her unwavering resilience, a prayer for her 15-year-old son, Marcus, who faced a world that often felt too heavy for someone his age. As they fought against economic struggles and societal prejudice, laughter and love echoed in their cozy home, a reminder that they were in this together. As the annual charity gala approached, the buzz in the community grew, filled with excitement tinged by apprehension. News spread that the guest of honor would be a billionaire philanthropist, notorious for his controversial past. Emma's heart sank. Helping her struggling shop earn a spot in the limelight felt selfish against the backdrop of Marcus's daily challenges at his predominantly white school. The thought of celebrating a man who had turned a blind eye to injustice weighed heavily on her, but when Marcus was chosen to present an award that evening, pride surged within Emma. She recalled the countless nights they'd spent discussing integrity, dignity, and the importance of using one's voice. This moment could be Marcus's chance to shine, but, she feared, also a moment that could burn him. The gala was a grand gathering, filled with laughter, glamorous attire, and a vibrancy that was palpable. Yet, Emma couldn't ignore the undercurrents of discomfort swirling around the affluent crowd. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. When Marcus took the stage, he stood tall, his heart pounding like a drum. The moment he opened his mouth, his voice rang clear, slicing through the applause. I'm Marcus, and I believe it's time to talk about the truth. The racial injustices that aren't just on the news, they're right here, in our community. Gasps and murmurs ricocheted across the grand hall. It was a moment of raw honesty, electrifying yet daunting. He spoke of his experiences, the microaggressions, the assumptions made about him, igniting vigorous exchanges among the attendees. As Emma watched, tears pricked her eyes. Pride mixed with solidarity surged within her. Some cheered, their applause echoing like a refreshing spring rain on parched soil, others recoiled in disgust, faced with the uncomfortable truth Marcus laid bare. The gala became a battleground for disagreement, and Emma felt a bittersweet pang, knowing their lives would forever be altered by this night. Upon returning home, the weight of the gala's aftermath hung over them. Their small house felt both warm and heavy. Emma held Marcus close, reminding him that their voices had the power to inspire change. But as discussions flared within the community, Emma wondered if they could emerge from this storm with hearts changed or if they had just opened a floodgate of resistance. Her once quaint flower shop found itself at the intersection of hope and controversy, and Emma was left grappling with the pressing question: when the dust settled, who would have the courage to embrace their truth? The next morning, Emma woke to the sun streaming through her curtains, a warm reminder of new beginnings. Yet, the events of the gala echoed in her mind, like a relentless drumbeat. She moved quietly through the house, her heart heavy but full of purpose. With Marcus still asleep, she thought about the courage he had shown. That courage ignited something in her, a desire to do more than just watch from the sidelines. As she brewed her morning coffee and arranged a fresh batch of daisies, a thought struck her. She needed to provide a platform, a space where stories could be shared, and voices could unite. Her small flower shop, vibrant with the color of life, could become a sanctuary for conversation. Maybe she could host gatherings, inviting people to share their experiences on systemic racism and justice. It was a daunting idea, but one that bubbled with possibility. That day at school, Marcus faced stares and whispers as familiar as the spring breeze. Some students were supportive, patting his back and sharing words of admiration, while others threw judgment masked as jokes. It felt like a new reality he didn't know how to navigate. When he arrived home, Emma was busy tying ribbons on bouquets, her energy contagious. He could sense the change in the air, a hopeful spark. "Hey, Mom," Marcus said, dropping his backpack with a heavy thud. "How was your day?" Emma turned with a fresh smile, a spark dancing in her eyes. "I had an idea," she began, her words tumbling out like a mix of blooms. "What if we transform the shop into a community space? A place where people can talk about things that really matter?" Marcus's brow furrowed, uncertainty flickering across his face. "You mean like a discussion group?" "Exactly." Emma nodded eagerly. "We can invite people to share their experiences, to listen, to learn. We can create something beautiful out of all of this. A platform for change." His apprehension melted away, replaced by cautious excitement. "That could be amazing, Mom. But, do you think people will actually come? I mean, what if they don't care?" Emma placed her hands on his shoulders, grounding him with her strength. "People care, Marcus. But they need to feel safe. We can build that atmosphere together. We'll start small, just a few friends and neighbors. Right now, we need to keep the conversation going. Not just for you or me, but for everyone who has felt unheard." The weight in his chest lightened as he considered the possibilities. A space where he could speak openly and others would listen? It felt like a dream blossoming into reality. As evening approached, Emma crafted a simple flyer inviting the community to the first gathering. The words flowed from her heart, the urgency palpable: "Join us for an evening of connection and conversation. Let us listen. Let us speak. Let us grow together." She felt exhilarated, yet anxious about the response, or worse, a lack of response. The following days blurred together as she braced herself for the night of the gathering. Would they come? Emma worked tirelessly in the shop, eager yet nervous, and on the night itself, they wore their best smiles, hoping to greet open hearts. As they awaited their guests, the door swung open, and in stepped a group of familiar faces. Emma's heart soared, swelling with hope. But as more people entered, she noticed one person linger in the doorway. The glance exchanged was heavy with buried tension, a reminder of the uncomfortable truths they had shared. Emma swallowed hard, realizing that every voice had its weight and every story its power. What would happen when all that was shared became real? Would the spirited discussions erupt into support, or would the shadows of unease linger? The moment felt charged, electric, as they prepared to embark on a journey of discovery. Emma took Marcus's hand, sensing both fear and thrill intertwining. Together, they stood at the brink of something monumental. Just as the gathering began, a sudden commotion erupted outside, causing heads to turn. Emma's heart raced. The tension thickened, and she couldn't shake off the feeling that everything was about to change again. The noise outside escalated, the sound of shouting reaching their ears, turning Emma's stomach in knots. She exchanged worried glances with Marcus, their moment of togetherness suddenly overshadowed by uncertainty. The crowd inside the shop buzzed with confusion, whispers weaving through the attendees like smoke. "What's happening out there?" a voice called from the back. It belonged to Maya, a mother of two and one of Emma's regular customers. Emma felt a surge of protectiveness bubble up inside her. This gathering was meant to be a safe harbor, a sanctuary away from the chaos of the world. "I don't know," Emma said, her voice shaky as she moved toward the door. She hesitated for a moment. Would it be too risky? But before she could think much longer, she stepped outside, Marcus close behind her. The street was alive with agitation. A small group of protesters had gathered, their signs raised high with demanding slogans. Justice for all. No more silence. It echoed the very sentiments Emma wanted to foster in her shop. Yet beneath their passionate cries, she sensed an undercurrent of fear and anger. A tall figure emerged from the crowd, a familiar face from the community, Mr. Jenkins, the high school history teacher. He stood firm, gesturing emphatically as he spoke to a group of students. Emma's heart began to race. The scene looked volatile. "Marcus, stay close," she instructed quietly, and he nodded, his eyes wide as he took in the spectacle unfolding before them. Emma felt the weight of the moment settle in, both heavy and electric. This was the reason she had wanted to create a space for dialogue, a response to the very real issues they couldn't ignore. Suddenly, a young man stepped forward, his voice cutting through the noise. "We are tired. Tired of injustice. Tired of being unheard." His expression was fierce, filled with determination, but Emma could see the tremor of vulnerability beneath it all. She felt for him, recalling Marcus's own struggles that had inspired their gathering. Emma stepped farther into the street, heart pounding, feeling both terrified and alive. "Let us channel that energy," she called out, her voice ringing with conviction. "Join us. Let us speak. Let us share our stories right here, together." The reaction was immediate. Several heads turned toward her, curiosity mixed with skepticism. Marcus shifted beside her, sharing a hopeful glance. Maybe this was the moment that could bridge the gap between the crowd's anger and the understanding they sought inside the flower shop. One by one, more people turned away from their protests, drawn by Emma's call for unity. She watched as familiar faces among the crowd began to shuffle over, drawn by a desire for connection. With every step, she could feel the walls coming down. As the crowd began assembling, Emma took a deep breath, trying to calm the whirlwind inside her. It was now or never. The tension that hung heavy moments before felt slightly lighter, infused with a thread of shared purpose. "Let us create a safe space right here," she encouraged, her voice stronger now. "Your stories matter. Let us listen to each other and find a way forward. Together." But just as her words hung in the air, a figure stepped forward from the back, a glint of recognition in his eyes. It was Nathan, someone Emma had shared laughter and flowers with at previous gatherings, someone who had also been a target of prejudice. Their eyes met, and Emma glimpsed a complicated mixture of relief and hesitation. Would this be the moment that changed everything? Emma held her breath, knowing they were all standing at the edge of something profound. Would they seize this chance to bridge their differences and cultivate understanding? She could feel the weight of their shared stories ready to transform the uncomfortable into the connected, but just as Marcus took another step forward, a shout from the back rang out, sending a shockwave through the crowd. "Wait! We can't go on like this." What would happen next? The air crackled with tension. Where would this all lead? Emma's heart raced as the unyielding shout echoed through the air, a jolt of electricity that cut through the tentative unity she had just begun to foster. The crowd rippled with uncertainty, heads turning to find the source of the voice that had interrupted a moment that felt so crucial. "Who said that?" called out a young woman with dark, curly hair. Her brow was furrowed, eyes glistening with defiance. "We're trying to have a conversation here." "I did," shouted a tall, wary man, stepping to the forefront. His face was flushed, a combination of anger and fear. Emma recognized him as Leo, a local activist known for his raw honesty. "We can stand here and share our stories, but if we don't act, nothing will change. What are we willing to risk to find justice?" A heavy silence fell, and Emma could sense the weight of truth in his words. It was a confrontation sparked by passion, caught between the urge to unite and the realities of their struggles. She felt a knot tighten in her stomach. "Leo, we need to listen. We can't just push forward without understanding everyone's pain," Emma replied, her voice steady despite the turmoil. "There's a time for action, but we can't let anger drown out compassion." "That's all well and good," he retorted, shaking his head. "But what if compassion hasn't been enough? People are suffering out there, while we stand here wearing our rose-tinted glasses. Sometimes, we need to shake things up to get heard." The tension in the crowd swelled. Emma's eyes darted to Marcus, who looked worried but resolute. This wasn't just a moment for her, it was a moment for him, too. Who would he feel supportive of? There were competing interests, and they hung thick in the air. Maybe you're right, she allowed, feeling herself wrestling with the truth of his words. But can we find a way to do both? We owe it to each other to listen, to explore, and then, if we must, act. Around them, discussions erupted. One voice, bold and loud, prompted another to speak, and soon, more passionately expressed opinions began swirling. Emma realized that she couldn't direct this conversation anymore. It was taking on a life of its own, pulsing with the mix of raw emotions around her. Amidst the fervor, Nathan came forward, his voice calm but firm. Emma's right. If we don't listen to one another, we'll be repeating the same cycle of hurt. We're all in pain, that's what brought us here. Let's honor that. The collective murmurs shifted, uncertainty giving way to tentative agreement. Emma's heart lightened with hope. It felt like they were on the edge, just beginning to scratch the surface of understanding. Leo's demeanor softened. Fine, but remember, feeling heard isn't enough if it doesn't lead to action. Emma nodded, a sense of urgency mounting. Then let us promise to take our stories forward. Whatever direction this goes, we will act together. As they began to share their stories, voices rising together, weaving tales of struggle and resilience, and unexpected warmth enveloped Emma. It was messy and raw, but it was also beautiful. Each story was a thread, creating a tapestry that was uniquely theirs, but just as she started to feel a sense of community forming, a commotion erupted at the other end of the street. Officers in uniforms pushed through, their presence alone igniting fear. The crowd began to mutter, apprehension returning like a shadow. What now? Marcus asked, clutching Emma's hand tightly. The atmosphere shifted again, tense and charged. Emma wondered, could this fragile unity withstand another challenge? As the police approached, Emma felt the walls close in around them again, darkness threatening to snuff out the light they had just ignited. What would they do now? Would they confront this fear head-on, or would it pull them apart? Emma held her breath, knowing the next moment could either break them or create something utterly transformative. The officers pressed closer, the evening dimming around them as their uniforms caught the flickering streetlights. Emma felt the grip of anxiety tighten around her chest. Murmurs in the crowd grew louder, a mix of confusion and concern as people shifted on their feet. Stay calm, Emma whispered to Marcus, though her own voice trembled. We need to hold together. The leader of the police, a stern-faced woman with sharp eyes, stepped forward. Turn this gathering into a protest, and you will be the ones creating a disturbance. We cannot allow this to escalate. The rustling tension reminded Emma of a tightly coiled spring, ready to snap. Leo stepped toward the officer, hands raised, his face a mix of defiance and fear. We're not here to create problems. We're here to share our pain, our stories. To fight for justice. Not under my watch, she said firmly. You think shouting about stories is going to change anything? It won't. Actions have consequences. Emma felt her heart pounding. Was this how it began? The hatred, the backlash against their vulnerability? She lifted her chin, looking at the gathered faces around her, searching for understanding, for resolve. Leo, she called out, we can't let them divide us. We stand together. He hesitated, still staring at the officer. Together, right? But what happens when they come for us? Will it be enough? The crowd became restless. Eyes darted between the uniformed figures and their own, a tangle of worry and determination. Emma recognized the fear in their eyes. She felt it too, but something deeper stirred an ember of hope that flickered against the fear. Maybe we can show them that our unity matters, she suggested, her voice rising with urgency. We can stand strong, share our stories while staying peaceful. Nathan spoke up again, his tone steady. What if we hold hands? Form a line. Make it clear we are not here to fight but to be heard. Emma watched as he took a step forward, reaching for the person next to him, a stranger just moments ago. One by one, others began to follow suit, hands clasping across the gathering like a living chain. With each connection, the tension eased just a little. "Look!" Marcus exclaimed softly, his eyes wide with recognition. "We're all connected. If the police see this, they'll see us as a community," Emma finished, her spirits lifting slightly. "It might just be enough." The officers exchanged glances, and Emma could see the surprise in their hardened faces. The tension was palpable, but she could sense a shift. The line of joined hands grew, a powerful statement wrapped in vulnerability and hope. The police officer stepped backward, as if the unity they had formed was a barrier she couldn't cross. "Stay where you are," she readied herself, her voice tinged with something that might have been uncertainty. As silence fell upon the group, Emma's heart raced with a mix of fear and exhilaration. They were standing on a precipice, entirely exposed but undeniably powerful. What could this moment spark? Would it inspire others to join, or would it push back harder against what they were trying to build? Suddenly, someone broke the fragile quiet. "This moment is just the beginning." A voice from the back shouted, echoing across the street. The crowd responded, the energy igniting with shouts of agreement. Emma felt like they were dancing on a wire, tension mingling with hope. She squeezed Marcus's hand tighter, sharing the unspoken understanding that whatever happened next, they would face it together. But just as the confidence began to pulse through the crowd, a loud crash broke the atmosphere. A protester had fallen, tripping over discarded debris as the police surged forward. Emma gasped. What would happen now? Would their moment of unity turn chaotic, or could it still bring forth a powerful message? Her heart raced with the uncertainty of what lay ahead. The sound echoed through the night, a sharp crack that shattered the fragile moment they had fought to create. Eyes turned wide with shock as heads whipped around. Emma's breath hitched in her throat as she watched the fallen protesters struggle to regain their footing. An unsteady hand reached out while others instinctively leaned in, preparing to help. The police officer barked an order, pushing forward with rigid authority, her gaze narrowing. "Step back," she demanded, eyebrows knitting together in cautious alarm, unsure of how the crowd would react. "Wait." Leo's voice sliced through the tumult. He squeezed Emma's hand firmer. "This isn't the way." The line of joined hands quivered. Was it enough to shield them from the police's encroachment? Emma felt sweat bead along her brow, uncertainty clawing at her insides. She exchanged looks with Marcus, who nodded as if to say that they were stronger together. As more people reached out to help the fallen protester, the police's presence intensified, a wall of blue closing in tighter. It felt like a dam had broken and the waters were rushing fast, threatening to drown them all in chaos. "Everyone, we need to hold strong," Emma cried out, though her voice was barely above the din. "We can't let fear drive us apart. We're here for a reason." The crowd rallied around her words. Slowly, they began to chant, a unified wave of sound that rolled through the gathering, drowning out the crackling tension. "We are here. We are one." Emma's heart raced, each pulse echoing the fervor around her. The fallen protester was rising now, steadied by friendly hands. Relief washed over Emma, but it was short-lived as the police pressed forward with heavier steps. "Do not make this a riot," the officer shouted again, her voice taut with accusation. Emma locked eyes with Leo, feeling both the weight of fear and a growing resolve. "We can't be seen as a threat. We are just here to stand up for each other," she whispered fiercely. Then, a woman from the crowd stepped forward, her voice rising above the turmoil. "This is our truth. We deserve to be heard." And just like that, one by one, voices began to echo the sentiment, stories pouring forth, experiences shared like secrets unveiled. Each tale was a strand in the tapestry of their collective struggle. Emma felt the warmth of connection, a fire igniting within as others recounted their shared pains, their hope to make a difference ringing in each word. The officer hesitated, uncertainty flickering across her face. Emma seized the moment. "Look at us. Look at what we are creating together." This is not a threat to you, or to anyone. This is a call for change. But just as the energy shifted, ready to course in their favor, the sound of sirens sliced through the air. A new wave of officers appeared, their faces set with an urgency that cast shadows over the hopeful moment. Panic rose, and Emma felt her heart sink. "Stay calm," she urged, but her own voice faltered, fear creeping back in. Would this turn into a showdown? Would the strength of their unity fade under the heavy hand of authority? The question hung in the air, thick with tension and uncertainty. As a ripple of worry coursed through the crowd, something was about to break. Emma sensed the shift, a precarious balance teetering on the edge of chaos. What would their next move be in this delicate moment? Would they stand firm in their resolve, or would fear win the day? And then, before anyone could think, the first rock flew through the air, aimed right at the line of uniformed officers. The rock's trajectory surprised everyone. Time seemed to stretch as it arced through the night sky, a symbol of desperation and anger. It struck the ground with a thud, not quite hitting its mark but sending shockwaves through the crowd. "Don't!" "No!" Emma shouted, desperation in her voice. The moment hung like a pendulum, swaying between hope and chaos, and the crowd froze. Eyes darted from the rock to the officers and back again, uncertainty thick in the air. "Stay together." Leo's voice cut through the fear, steadying those around them. He stepped forward, hands still clutching Emma's, standing firm as the tension crackled. He took a deep breath, his eyes scanning the growing hostility in the air. "We have to be better than this. We can't let anger tear us apart." As if on cue, the gathered crowd began to murmur amongst themselves, voices rising and overlapping. Emma felt the weight of every heartbeat, every breath growing louder. "This isn't what we wanted," someone exclaimed, and others quickly agreed, their voices forming a hesitant chorus against the unease. Suddenly, a girl near the front dropped to her knees and began to cry. "We just want to be heard," she sobbed, her anguish breaking through the barricade of fear like a lightning bolt. The crowd shifted, moved by her vulnerability, her pain digging deep into their shared experiences. Another voice, this time an older man, spoke up, "We're not enemies. We're here to change this." Emma's heart swelled with a mix of pride and fear. They were starting to remember their purpose. "That's it," Emma shouted, her voice amplified by emotion. "This is our fight for compassion, for understanding. Don't let fear take control." The energy started shifting again. People linked arms, each connection creating a bond that felt almost electric. And then, without warning, the officers advanced, more determined now, their shields gleaming ominously in the harsh lights. "Disperse immediately," one of the officers barked, his voice booming and authoritative. The crowd flinched, and for a brief moment, the fear threatened to overtake them. But something shifted. Emma took a step forward, feeling the warmth of each person beside her. "We stand together," she cried over the burgeoning chaos. "We'll speak our truth or they'll silence us forever." In that instant, a single voice began to chant again, and one by one, others joined in a unified, haunting melody cutting through tension like a knife. "We are here. We are one." It grew louder, fiercer, an echoing declaration that urged them to hold their ground. Just then, the officers hesitated, caught off guard by the overwhelming wave of unity. Emma saw that small flicker of doubt in their eyes as those in blue shifted uneasily in their lines, questioning the commands they had been given. "Now!" Leo shouted. "Let us not just shout, let us show them who we are." He turned to the crowd, asking them to raise their voices further. Emma felt her spirit lifting with each breath, each word shared. They were standing against injustice, weaving a tapestry of hope and resilience, but just as they began to feel the tide turning, a loud explosion rang out, not from the protest but from a distant alley. A firework? A gunshot? The red glare spread in the corner of Emma's eye. A collective gasp bounced around them like a ripple. Faces turned pale, eyes wide, uncertainties creeping back in. Emma's heart raced as she tried to make sense of what was happening. What now? Would the flickering flame of unity be doused by fear once more? The realization crashed over her this moment could change everything. Would they succumb to chaos or stand together as one? The night felt alive with potential and peril. What future awaited them all? The shockwave of the explosion rippled through the crowd like a jolt of electricity. Hearts raced, breaths caught in throats. Emma could feel the tension pressing on her chest, forcing her to wrestle with the gnawing fear that threatened to overwhelm the fragile unity they had built. What was that? Someone cried out, panic flaring anew. A few people began to back away, instinctively seeking safety. But Leo's voice rose above the chaos again, a steady anchor in the storm. Stay. Don't break apart now. Emma squeezed his hand hard, seeking reassurance. The energy hung in the air, volatile and terrifying, but she couldn't let it go to waste. We can't let this tear us apart. We need to stand strong, she shouted, her voice gaining strength with every word. More people turned towards her, their faces reflecting uncertainty mixed with a glimmer of hope. What do we do? Someone asked, vulnerability lacing their tone. Emma had no concrete answer, but deep inside, she felt the truth bloom. This moment was not about fear. It was about resilience, about embracing the collective strength of their voices. We fight for what we believe in. Emma called out. We stand up for one another. We're more than an explosion, we're a movement. A few voices joined hers, hesitant yet echoing her sentiment. Gradually, the chant began to rise again. We are here. We are one. The pulse of the crowd grew steadier, their resolve hardening like steel forged in fire. But the atmosphere remained electric, charged with dread. The officers advanced slowly, their shields reflecting the chaotic lights around them. Emma could see the uncertainty etched on their faces, a slight hesitation as they approached the crowd. Don't look away. Keep your eyes on them. Leo shouted, steeling himself at the forefront. Emma watched as one by one, people turned back to face the officers, holding their ground together. In that moment, Emma understood fear can only win if you give it power. Suddenly, the girl who had cried earlier stood again, her face a mix of defiance and raw emotion. We're not here to fight. We want to be seen. She yelled into the fray, igniting deep-rooted empathy within the crowd. The chant swelled louder, empowering. Let us hold our ground. Emma urged. Together, we can carry this moment beyond tonight. Change doesn't come easy, but we can be the spark. As if responding to their shared determination, the night sky echoed their strength. The chaos shifted, watching on as they became a movement instead of a moment, unity over fear, voices rising amidst the darkness. But then, just as hope surged, the sound of sirens wailed in the distance, an approaching storm of authority. Emma's heart sank. What will they do? Are they coming for us? The question loomed, heavy with uncertainty, casting a shadow over the burgeoning light. Would they strike out in fear, or would they stand resolute? Emma turned to Leo, desperation coursing through her. What's next? Are we ready to face what's coming? The answer rested on the edge of a knife, feeding the suspense that hung in the night air, an anxious breath caught between two worlds. The sirens grew louder, the wail cutting through the charged air like a knife. The people around Emma shifted uncomfortably, glancing over their shoulders where the lights of police vehicles danced ominously in the distance. Anxiety coursed through the crowd like wildfire, and Emma fought to keep her footing amidst the rising tide of fear. Emma. Leo's voice broke through her thoughts. She turned to find him looking intensively toward the officers, his jaw set in determination. We have to make them see us. We can't let these moments slip away. Emma nodded, adrenaline fueling her resolve. It was important now to turn fear into something they could all lean on, the push to be recognized, to be heard. We're not going anywhere. she shouted, urgency dripping from her words. The challenge bolstered her, and she felt the warmth of unity radiate from the people around her. Their fear is as real as ours. The girl shouted again, eyes gleaming with unyielding spirit. They're afraid of what we might do. But we're not here to cause harm. We just want to be seen. The chant pulsed through the crowd steadier this time, rising like a wave. We are here. We are one. Emma's heart soared. This was their moment. The time to claim not just their fears, but their identities and their existence. The officers hesitated, glancing nervously among themselves. They were caught off guard by the power of the collective voice swelling before them, but just as Emma believed they had shifted the tide, a figure emerged from the shadows. Dressed in black, with a barely visible badge, the woman stepped forward, shaking her head with a sudden coldness. "Disperse immediately," she commanded, her voice booming with authority. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Emma's stomach twisted. She could feel it, a hard choice looming, a decision waiting for someone to make. This wasn't just about standing their ground anymore, it was about whether they dared to push back against overwhelming power. "Do we stand firm, or do we retreat?" Leo asked, searching her face for guidance. Emma glanced at the people surrounding them, their friends, neighbors, and even strangers woven together in hope. "We stand firm," she said, conviction ringing in her tone. "We cannot allow our fear to dictate our actions. They need to understand that we are together in this." As she spoke, Emma locked eyes with the officers, feeling the weight of their scrutiny. It was a moment unlike any she had ever experienced. She could feel the heartbeat of the crowd, a collective thumping of hope and fear and strength all at once. "Let's show them there is no turning back," she bellowed, the crowd falling into a charged silence, awaiting her lead. Just then, the siren stopped, and the blaring lights turned off as if the world suddenly held its breath. The tension crackled, a fragile line between the two sides. Emma raised her fist high. "We stand together. We are seen." The crowd went wild, raising their arms in solidarity, shouting as one. It echoed through the night, a resonating reminder of their very existence beyond the confines of fear. But then, from behind her, she heard a commotion, voices rising in confusion, and she turned just in time to see a figure break from the line of officers, rushing toward them. What were they about to reveal? Emma felt a surge of dread and excitement all at once. "Leo, what now?" Emma whispered, torn between intuition and fear. "What if they're here to escalate things?" The answers were momentarily lost in the shifting shadows. The crowd's energy pulsed like a heart, waiting for the unexpected. What would come next might change everything. The figure sprinted forward, and Emma squinted through the dim light, heart racing in anticipation. As he neared, the soft contours of his jacket revealed none other than Mr. Jenkins, the high school history teacher from Marcus's school, a familiar face who had often spoken out against injustice. He wasn't just navigating the crowd, he was charging toward them with urgent purpose. "Stop. Please, stop," he called out, hands raised to disarm the tension hanging in the air. "What is he doing?" Marcus murmured nervously at Emma's side, eyes wide with uncertainty. "Just trust him," Emma whispered back, hope pulsing in her veins. They needed an anchor, someone who could bridge the divided sentiments in the crowd. "Listen to me," Mr. Jenkins shouted as he reached the front, breathing heavy. The anxiety in the air was palpable, every eye on him. "We can't just turn this into chaos. We are here tonight for change. Let us not lose sight of that." Each word he spoke resonated deep within Emma, capturing the hearts of many. Quiet fell over the crowd, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on their shoulders. Emma seized the moment. "We came together tonight for a reason," she urged, her voice steady now, fueled by the energy surrounding them. "We're not just here to protest, we're here to unite. Like Mr. Jenkins said, we want change, but we'll change it through understanding and respect. We need to show them who we are. Little ripples of agreement flowed through the crowd as Emma's conviction ignited embers of hope once more. Together, we can show that compassion and action can coexist. No one has to feel afraid. Tonight is about our stories, our strength. The crowd began to nod, slowly bringing strength back into their unity. Yes. They shouted, a fierce credibility rising in their chants again, resonating through the streets and igniting hope flickering in their hearts. The police officers exchanged glances, their expressions shifting from skepticism to a cautious understanding of the humanity driving the wave of voices before them. Step back, please, the stern officer ordered again, but this time the authority felt thinner, wavering under the power of collective resolve. It felt as if they were witnessing something monumental unfold, an incredible transformation from chaos to something more profound. Suddenly, sirens again pierced the night, but this time something shifted within the crowd. "We are here," echoed within a chorus of voices. One by one, they began to reclaim their power, no longer straying into fear, pushing back against any thought of chaos. "This is it," Leo shouted out, lifting his arms. "Let us show them what community looks like. Let's lift our stories higher." Bodies pressed closer, arms linking even tighter, each person a vital voice in this symphony of resilience. Noticing the change, the officer now hesitated, taking in the palpable energy filling the night. Emma felt it too. The tension began to dissolve, replaced by unity, and the crowd swelled around the message that had emerged, not just anger, but a clamoring for recognition, a chorus for respect that echoed far beyond the night. Emma's heart raced with courage, every heartbeat signaled the power of their gathered community. "This is the moment we redefine ourselves," she declared. "We are not only a crowd, we are a community." As the chant soared higher, the police officers, many holding back their apprehension, began to lower their shields, sensing the shift. Emma could see some officers even nodding, the barriers of fear starting to come down and empathy beginning to build. A hush fell over the crowd, followed by murmurs of agreement. "They see us," someone exclaimed, a spontaneous fire igniting anew. In this space born out of pain, the crowd doubled down on their strength, not fear, but promise. Emma wanted to cry tears of gratitude for the moment they were all sharing. Every voice mattered, every story significant. And then, just like that, Emma realized they had transformed. This wasn't just an event, it was a catalyst for change. "We are here. We are one," they chanted, resonating. Up toward the gathering clouds, powerful enough to shake the very foundations of silence that had surrounded them. Marcus squeezed Emma's hand, tears glistening in his eyes. "We did it, Mom," he breathed in astonishment. "Yes, we did," she whispered back, breathless, the gravity of the moment settling deep inside her. As the night deepened, lights flickered, and uncertainty hung in the air like mist, but together, they realized this movement had just begun. Emma looked around, seeing familiarity in strangers, unity among neighbors, strength in connection. With every fiery pulse of the chant, they were building a bridge, one founded on stories, hopes, and a desire for understanding. And as they stood together on that pivotal night, Emma knew they were ready to carry their truth forward and catalyze real, lasting change, not just for themselves, but for every voice that had been silenced before them, because together, they were stronger, and nothing, absolutely nothing, could extinguish the flame they had ignited. This was their moment, their community, their transformative journey to justice. Now, here's where you come in. You need to subscribe now. Hit that button and don't miss out on the exclusive stories that inspire change. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support, it truly makes a difference. Comment down below your feelings about this incredible ending, and share instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see the power of transformation. This is the moment to make your voice heard. Don't wait not even one more second, let us continue this journey together.